At Healthcare Partners Medical Group, our mission is to provide the highest quality of healthcare to each and every patient. With 5 locations in Pahrump, we are local doctors you know and trust. We want to thank you for choosing us. Quality care starts here.
I'm here with Bill Carns, chairman of the Nye County Republican Central Committee. So an amended lawsuit. Tell me about that.
Yeah, we filed an amended complaint against the town for their unlawful repeal of PTO 46 on June 12th at that meeting, which is starting to become somewhat legendary around town now. We did a couple of things. First of all, you had myself as an individual plaintiff, as well as Edmund Gubron, who's our vice chairman, as an individual plaintiff, and the NCRCC as an organization as a plaintiff. One of the things we do is we drop the NCRCC as one of the plaintiffs, reason being that injured parties must be individual registered voters of the town of Pahrump. And the NCRCC is an organization, and we have registered voters throughout the entire county. So we've deemed that would be prudent to do that. That way we can have the 2 individuals actually go in and argue this case. On top of that, we removed the complaints of the form in which they went about repealing the ordinance based on state law, mainly because what we want to do is we want to have this ordinance judged specifically on the ability of an ordinance itself to uphold itself when it comes to lawful activity. For instance, it says directly in PTO 46, in very plain, clear, and concise language, that the town board waives its rights to repeal the ordinance, and any repeal must abide by state law and go to a vote of the people. Well, the town board robbed us of that. They robbed us, everybody in Pahrump who's a registered voter, they robbed all of us the ability to have our voices heard, and voted to repeal this. That's why we're referring to it as an illegal action, because the ordinance has full force and effect of law. So we're fighting it specifically on those grounds. Reason being, if any judge was to decide, okay, well, the ordinance is to a point where the town board does have the authority to interpret and do whatever they want with it. The town board, those elected officials, are subservient to us, meaning we have more authority than they do. They act on our behalf. Their legal counsel, who's no more than an advisor, a lawful advisor, gives them information based on this law and says, you guys go ahead and repeal it. That would have the same weight as you or I or anybody else in Pahrump contacting our attorney and say, well, what do you think about this other ordinance that's in there? Let's say PTO 35, which has to do with business licensing. If a judge says that what the town board did was lawful in repealing PTO 46, then that would have the same effect as me going to an attorney and saying, what do you think about this PTO 35? I want to start a business up. And my attorney saying, there's some problems with it, which means it doesn't really hold water. You can do whatever you want. And on top of that, let's say PTO 41, which states that you cannot bring any outside ambulance company in here. It's got to be on the taxpayer's back to provide services for the ambulance service here in Pahrump, which loses over $1 million a year in write-offs. We could then have an attorney say, well, what do you think about PTO 41? And our attorney could say, well, who knows? It doesn't look like it's really that lawful, and there's some problems with it, and a couple Supreme Court cases which could be contrary to it. That means that I could start a private ambulance company and bring it in here, never get a business license, and actually go to work and do something good for the community after my private attorney interpreted the ordinance. Therefore, if the judge sides on the side of the Pahrump Town Board that they got together with their attorney and decided that they had some problems with it, they could go ahead and repeal it even though it couldn't. Well, then we know how much full force and effect any and all of the ordinances in the town of Pahrump have, which would be essentially nothing.
You think that this will set a precedent for other ordinances? You quoted the former town manager, Dave Richards, in your lawsuit, your amended lawsuit, saying that he came in and gave his explanation of, because he was the main person behind the original PTO 46, and that he gave why that they put in there that it cannot be repealed, and that he said it needs to be up to the voters, and that's what you guys are asking for. It instead of the town board repealing it, that it should have been put to a vote.
Right. What we did when we quoted Dave Richards, former town manager, he was actively involved in PTO 46. He had members of the town board come to him and tell him they wanted to draft an ordinance against at that time, the attempts of Vicky Parker and her husband trying to incorporate part of the town of Pahrump into what I think was the city of Sunset, and then inevitably annex the rest of the area and have a city. So they wanted to draft an ordinance against that. That became PTO 46, and Dave Richards worked with the town board and the town attorney at the time in an effort to draft that. That's exactly what happened. So at the meeting on June 12th, Dave Richards stood up and he told the town board exactly why it was written the way it was, what the intent was. Of course, the town board didn't care. So they voted to repeal it regardless of what anybody had to say.
So are you still doing the town board lawsuit against each town board member individually, or just the town of Pahrump? What's named in the new lawsuit?
We renamed it to the town of Pahrump because statutorily speaking, you can't name the individual town board members because they represent the town of Pahrump. Therefore, the lawsuit is against the town of Pahrump, as it is the ordinances of the town and the leaders of the town. As a matter of fact, one of our members actually went and served Vicky Parker, and it was interesting because the town attorney informed us it's the right idea to serve Vicky Parker because she would be the namesake for the town as high as you can get. So we went to serve her this last Tuesday morning, and she decided she didn't want to accept a service, which you can't do. You can't in presence not accept a service. It doesn't have my name on it, is what she says. And it's funny because as I understand, the town manager made the same gripes and complaints. However, when they finally called their attorney said, oh yeah, they did exactly what we asked them to do.
So Harley Calkin, you guys have a letter that was put on, what was it, Positive Pahrump? And you said it was up there for a few hours. What is this?
Evidently, there was some sort of thread started on the Positive Pahrump page. I was a subscriber to Positive Pahrump for about a week until I realized they were anything but positive. It's basically slamming anything that they don't like. So post the June 12th meeting, they were slamming everything that I believe in, so I elected to walk away. However, it was brought to my attention by several people that there was a post by the name Harley Z. Culkin that slammed all of the members of the NCRCC and made all sorts of defaming comments about being on welfare and unemployment and trying to bleed the government dry and such as that. Just incredibly inflaming comments. There's been some screen captures and a couple dozen people that actually read it and have told me and others about it. So it's just interesting that, in fact, we the people elect the town board. They are subservient to us. And our First Amendment right is a right between the government and the people. So when it comes to town board business, the government must listen to us. But yet to have somebody open their mouth who's a member of that government organization, in this case Harley, if this is so true, we understand it was taken down sometime later that night on the 25th. If this actually is what went down, then what we have is the government bad-mouthing us, the people that actually control what they do. And it's just it's a matter of Harley not really realizing that his campaign career is dead on arrival. He served 2 years as a town board member. It's quite likely that the town is no longer going to exist. It'll go back to an advisory panel. I should say the town board won't exist, go back to an advisory panel.